Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of the special series of podcasts. My name is Loosey and today I'm here with H.M. Waugh, environmental scientist, children's author and educator with a long-term love of wild places and high mountains. Welcome! How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Lucy. Thanks for having me on the podcast, and
Yes.
It's great being here today.
It is. So to start off, we're going to have a bit of a quick fire round. Just say the first thing that comes to mind, this or that, okay?
I'm ready.
Prepare yourself.
Yes.
Smart or casual?
Casual.
Fiction or non-fiction?
Fiction.
Reading or writing?
Oh,
Tricky one.
Don't
Everyone
make me
is stumped on that.
choose. Depends on the mood. At the moment, writing.
Left or right? It's a very tricky one.
Which side is the chocolate on?
Just
The
it
side of the
depends.
good stuff, yeah.
TV shows or movies?
Movies.
Night or day?
Day.
Sunset or sunrise?
Sunrise.
Rain or shine?
If it's been too much shine, I'm going to go for rain. If it's been too much rain, I'm going to go for shine.
Yeah, it goes both ways.
I like a good balance.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cafe or restaurant?
Cafe.
Sweet or savoury?
Savoury.
Coffee or tea?
Tea. Oh my goodness. Absolutely.
The vast majority says coffee, so...
I haven't had a coffee in like 10 years, I reckon.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's your favourite tea?
I like black tea, I like green tea, as long as no one puts any milk in my tea, unless I'm really, really exhausted, and then I've got to put milk and sugar, and it's like, bazing! But yeah, coffee and me don't like each other very much. I think once Christy Byrne, my sister, gave me like one of those ice chill mockers, and I didn't realise what it was, and I was like, and then I had this big crash. I was like, oh.
Yeah, you're vibrating, and then you're dead.
So no coffee.
So, now we're going to go into the longer question.
All right.
So this is something I love to ask everyone who comes in. When you begin a book, do you start with a concept, character, place, thing, or something completely different?
I will usually have like a place and a concept, so it's quite linked to the world that it's going to be in and what might be happening, but I can't start until I've got that character.
Yeah.
So I keep that little concept in the back of my mind, like I've had one in the back of my mind for a while, and then a couple of days ago the character came, and then now I'm like, well, now I can start building that and maybe make something out of it.
Yeah, do they like, the characters are like, you had to put me in a book, like do they nag you?
No, I just start to see who they are and what they might want, because that's, when you're doing a book, it's about what do they want, because then you've got to take that away from them because you're evil and make them try to get it. So what are they wanting, what are they going to lose that they need to find again? But I find I have to write for quite some time, like several chapters, sometimes 10,000 words before their voice really comes in, and once that happens, quite often I have to start all over again. But then they're starting to tell me what they're doing. They're starting to talk. I know what they're going to be.
Yeah, you can write from all that.
Yeah.
Another one I love to ask people, when you write, do you have a whole idea in mind, or do you just write and let the flow take you?
The plan versus pants. I like pantsing it, so I like just sort of setting off with it's kind of, I'm heading in that general direction and we'll see what goes. But I've found that my books are better if I have some level of planning. But then you'll always find that you'll get to this point where your plan's telling you to do X, but it's like, hey, actually, now that I've thought up this extra thing and back here and I invented this thing over here, then actually we could go off and do this, and that's going to be epic. And so I don't make myself stick to a plan. I let the imagination take over, because I think that's when it gets really cool.
And apparently you're an environmental scientist. How does that influence your writing?
At first I thought it didn't at all, and then a lot of people, when they were reading The Lost Stone of Sky City, they were like, oh, you can see that your environmental side is coming through and the way you're describing stuff. And I realised that without even knowing, that's the way I look at the world. And so that was the sort of the glasses, the view frame that my characters were looking on the world as well. And so I think that comes through. But I do always want to write stories where there is some sort of an environmental theme there. Whether it's love of the environment or needing to save it, the environment's in trouble, but I always want to put that in there. I wouldn't ever write a story stuck in a city. I mean, just my words, they're stuck in the city. I like nature, I like that sort of outside world and animals and plants and things, and so I always like to put them into my stories.
Yeah. And jumping back to planning books, how do you plan your books? Do you have a process?
I've tried several processes, but you're always kind of, looking at what you need to have. Here's my start, and something's going to go wrong, and it's only going to probably be a little thing, and then we're going to have a bigger thing go wrong, and then there's going to be a really seriously big thing go wrong until it's like this massive big kaboom, and then you can come down. So I'm sort of always aiming at that, and by halfway we need to have done this much sort of thing. So I have a loose sort of idea of the things that can go wrong and where we're heading, but I don't sort of go chapter by chapter or anything, planning out scenes so much. I let myself lead on, and then I come back, and if I've got this whole section that was just dead boring, that's just me figuring it out, then I just delete it.
Yeah, definitely. And can you tell us a bit about what it was like to release your first book, The Lost Stone of Sky City?
Oh, it's so cool. When you're like, I'm going to start writing, and you've got this pinnacle, and the pinnacle is that someone will publish your book, and then you're starting to see covers and typeset pages. That was really cool, seeing a typeset page, and then to actually have it, be coming out, and you've got this early copy in your hands, and it's a real book.
It's all happening now.
It makes it's really cool feeling, but it's also, it's kind of frightening, because this thing that's lived on your laptop and in your mind and a few people have seen it, suddenly it's out there everywhere, and then you kind of feel that you've got that pressure to not only sell it but to find another book, and so it's the pinnacle that you're aiming for keeps changing, I find, and so I have to keep reminding myself that just having a book out is amazing, and I've got another one coming out in July, so that's really cool as well. But to not set the bar too high, and just celebrate the achievements that you've got. And every child that comes up and says, "I loved your book," what's your favourite character? That makes my day.
It's the best feeling.
Yep.
Now, can you tell us about any future projects? I think you mentioned a book that might be coming out.
So I've got Lost Stone is middle grade. I've got a young adult, a YA book coming out in July, and it's called Evacuation Road. So it was written before the pandemic, but it's actually got a lot of kind of things that are connecting it with that sort of feeling of the pandemic. So we've got a group of teenagers that are on a school trip in South America, and the financial system of the world goes down. So suddenly you can't get money out of banks. You can't, you don't have your savings anymore. And there's one evacuation flight being set up, and all these buses are heading across to it to get them back to Australia. And my protagonist misses the bus. She gets off to go to the toilet, and the buses leave without her. And so it's about how her and these two other school, not friends at the start, have to find their way to this last flight home through this changing world. So basically it's like this road trip of awesome across South America. I travelled there myself when I was younger, just trying to catch up with the buses they lost.
That's really interesting. I really want to read that when it comes out. It sounds amazing.
Fun. I've got its typeset pages in my bag, and I'm so excited by it.
Is it happening now?
Yeah, it is. That's again, when it starts to get real, when it comes looking like a book, and then eventually it will come and it is a book, and then that's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm really excited to read that. That sounds amazing. What kind of research went into writing that book, especially because you wrote it before, you could go there. Did you travel anywhere to research the book?
I had been there already. So when I was there, I was probably 20 or 21, and I went through South America, traveling independently. So, I got abducted a few times. I got stuck in road blockades, but I also went to some amazing, beautiful places. And thanks past me, I wrote a really epic diary. And so just one day I thought, well, why can't I link that with some sort of artificial premise about financial systems? I think there was a financial crisis, and people were, there's just pictures of people just lining up at ATMs, but they weren't allowed to get out all their money anymore. There was a limit of 100, and the next day there was a limit of 50, and the next day there was a limit of 20. And I thought, I wonder, the desperation would start to crank up, and then if no one's got it, it's worth a lot, but it's also not worth so much. You've got to find another currency apart from money. So the two things sort of join together. So I used a lot of my old memories, but it did require a lot of Google Maps and, how long does it take for the bus to get from here to here? And, because they're on a countdown to catch this flight, it's all how fast can they get there? How much would it cost to do this? That sort of thing.
So your past experiences can kind of help inspire you to write?
Absolutely. And I think you've got to write something that you know.
Yeah.
Even if it's a fraction of what the book is about, it's got to be something that you've experienced, that you've done, because that brings that reality into it.
It makes it relatable.
And then you can add on if there's other things that are part of it that you don't know about, then you can research those.
Definitely.
I've been eating crickets because I'm writing a book set on Mars where my people eat crickets, and I realised I didn't know, did crickets go crunch or squish? I didn't know if they left legs in your teeth. So I thought, well, I've got to eat crickets. So there are some things you haven't done that you ought to do to make your book more realistic, but I think it's always good to kind of set some of that premise of your book in something that you know, because that brings it through.
Yeah, I'm sure you get asked this a lot. What do crickets taste like? How is it?
My crickets tasted like saltbush and rosemary, because that's the one I chose. I just got them
Flavoured
pre-packaged.
crickets.
Yeah, flavoured crickets. They went crunch. They did not go smush. I didn't find any appendages in my teeth.
Oh, fantastic.
But I then took artistic license because I thought it would be quite cool in my book to have someone with a leg stuck out one side. But they were actually really good. I quite enjoyed them. I started stacking on them while I was writing, and then I realised I was going to run out of them, and I need them as a prop when I'm talking to schools, so I had to stop myself eating them. But they were good.
They're good for you, like protein?
Apparently really high protein. So the future of the human race, a lot of people are saying, well, we should be eating crickets and things, because they don't have the sort of environmental impact of, sheep and cows and all that, and they've got a protein punch.
Yeah. Whoa.
Cricket fritters. They make cricket flour. You could make cricket cake. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. You were an amazing guest.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been fun. Yeah.
And thank you everyone for watching this episode. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe, leave us a like on YouTube, and share with all your friends. Goodbye and keep reading.
Yeah.